Are there summer vegetables in your garden that aren't ripe yet, but it's starting to get cold? Maybe you have some tomatoes that aren't ripe yet, or maybe you have some peppers that aren't even fully grown. Well, don't panic, because today I'm going to show you how to ripen your vegetables fast, even when the temperatures are starting to drop outside. Hi, I'm Valerie, and welcome back to Now Gardening. As cold weather approaches, you don't want to lose all the hard work that you've put in over the past few months to the cold and frost. So today we're going to talk about how to ripen your vegetables faster so that you can enjoy your homegrown vegetables regardless of when winter sets in outside. Now, before we get into the ripening process, it's first important to choose the right vegetables. Some vegetables can take longer than others for ripening. And for others, the window of the right temperature for ripening is really small. Sometimes in autumn, 1 week can be super hot, like we're having right now, and the next week you might be facing frost. So the first thing to do when facing this kind of problem is to know which vegetables can be encouraged to mature faster. Pruning can speed up many plants while it's still warm. For summer squash, zucchini, tomatoes, and peppers, usually about a month before it starts to get cold, I begin to cut off some of the leaves. This allows more sunlight to reach the ripening fruit. It also helps the plant know where to direct its energy to speed up the maturing and the ripening process. But you might be saying, it's October, I'm well past any summer tips and tricks, so that brings me to this. And if this video is helpful, please don't forget to hit like or subscribe. Thank you. Next, you need to know which vegetables can be ripened off the vine. This includes tomatoes, peppers, and some winter squashes like acorn squash and butternut squash. On the other hand, summer squashes ripen as they go. And so if they don't have time to reach maturity, you can always do this, which is take them while they're still immature. Really as early as you want to, and they are quite tasty when they're young and tender. Now, can you ripen all tomatoes, butternut squash, and peppers inside? If you take an immature fruit like this tomato, full grown, it's going to be about this size. If you take it while it's still immature like this, it will not ripen inside. And the same applies to peppers. These peppers are still very immature and will not ripen inside if you just take them as they are, obviously. And I'm assuming in your case that the temperatures are getting too chilly for them to ripen outside. So with peppers, you have two choices. One is to overwinter your pepper, which I'll discuss in another video. And the second one, which is what we're going to discuss today, is to let them grow as big as possible and then ripen them inside. Now, I know it's really hard to let go of any of our babies, but you really have to pick and choose which ones will ripen off the vine. So now let me walk you around my garden and just show you the ones that are the ideal candidates for ripening inside. For the butternut squash, I've got some over here that is, you can see, it's already starting to get its color. These absolutely would ripen inside if I take them off the vine. Here's some tomatoes. This one would ripen if I take it inside. This one, however, is still very small and immature and will not ripen. This is an ideal candidate for ripening inside because you see it already has its blush. These are full grown and could be ripened inside as well. So you've picked which ones are the keepers. Now what? Well, it's time to harvest. For tomatoes, here's the fail-proof trick I use. See, tomatoes emit ethylene gas, a natural ripening agent. So I put all of my mature but unripe tomatoes in a paper bag and leave them in a warm spot. Within a couple of days to a week, they will ripen in the bag. Some fruits, like bananas, also release ethylene gas. You can also place these fruits in a paper bag with your unripe tomatoes, and they will help speed up the ripening process. As for your mature but unripe peppers, all they need is warmth. I place my harvested peppers in a warm, dry, and well-ventilated area. In my case, this is conveniently my kitchen. Room temperature should be around 70 to 75 degrees or 21 to 24 degrees Celsius. Avoid high humidity areas that can cause mold to develop. And then what I do is I periodically check the peppers for ripeness. I check to see if the color is changing and if the skin is getting a little bit softer. As for winter squash, butternut squash and acorn squash tend to ripen well off the vine. For example, I had 2 butternuts fall off the vine while I was doing garden cleanup in early September. Both were still green. When I opened the first one to cook it about a week later, it was soft and green, and I cooked it like a zucchini. With the second one at 2 weeks, although it was still green outside, it had turned a pale orange inside. I roasted this one, and it was a big hit. My family actually thought it was better than butternut because it wasn't quite as sweet. Although cooking them turned out great for me, if you want to ripen them, you first have to cure the squash. To do this, you place the squash on a warm, dry, and well-ventilated area. Temperature should be about 80 to 85 degrees for about 1 to 2 weeks. This will help harden the skin and enhance the flavor. After that, you want to store the squash in a cool, dry storage location with temperatures around 50 to 55. And over time, the squash should continue to mature and become a little bit sweeter. So don't worry if you still have summer vegetables out in the garden. Decide which ones you can ripen inside and get to harvesting. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.